Good morning. Good morning. What's going on, everybody? Good morning to everybody. Tuesday, March 11th, 7:59 a.m., if I might add. Just want to, I'm giving myself credit for that extra 30 seconds or so. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I appreciate you guys hanging out. To get in today. Unfortunately, we're coming off a Laker loss, but still a lot to talk about. A lot of stuff going on around the NBA. We'll hit on a number of different topics here. You guys can see some of the topics that I got listed here. First off, let me just say I appreciate everybody hanging out. Can I tell you guys something kind of funny? When the Lakers win, okay, I know everybody's going to come tune in. When they lose, when they come off a loss to the Brooklyn Nets, I got the real OGs here. You know what I mean? Yeah, people kind of bouncing around. The Lakers are playing well. They've won 20 of 24 games. Everyone wants to come on the show. How about when they lose 2 in a row and things aren't looking good? Those are the real people. Those are either the people that just like the damn show or they just want to hear Lakers basketball off a win or a loss. So I appreciate you guys being here either way. Yesterday, I had some really good quotes from other people. Other people were chiming in on some quotes. So I'm going to do this every morning. If somebody's got something that's good, if somebody's got something that is helpful to everybody else and it's a good quote, lob it in the chat. I'll try to get to it. All right, let me give you guys a quick quote here. Never allow a person to tell you no who doesn't have the power to say yes. Never allow a person to tell you no who doesn't have the power to say yes. I like that. I like that. Yeah, by the way, I've been kind of accumulating. I got this long list of different quotes that I'm using here. So I got some good fresh ones coming up here in the next couple of days. All right, let's take a look at a couple of the comments. I got a quick rundown for everybody, and then we're going to get the show started. All right, some people they're already coming in hot and heavy. They already want to go at everybody. They want to go at the entire squad. Anybody wants to rip the Lakers today, that's fine. You could rip them. I will tell you that I do have some theories of why I think the world's not ending here because of the Lakers loss to Brooklyn yesterday. Granted, it was an awful loss. Don't get me wrong. Okay, let me give everyone just a quick idea of the show, what we got going on, quick little rundown here, and then we'll keep things moving along. Bad loss to the Nets yesterday. No way to really slice it and dice it, to be honest with you. I can make up some excuses. I can make up some excuses for the Lakers, but the reality is just with how brutal the schedule is going to be and how injured the Lakers are, you can't lose to Brooklyn, a team that is basically has absolutely no interest in winning games right now. You can't lose to Brooklyn. Obviously, the Lakers did. So we'll spend a little time on that, talk about the loss. JJ Redick completely – I loved this about JJ. I'm going to play some audio of JJ yesterday going after the team. Yeah, I got no issue with that. Let him do his thing. Want to talk a little bit about Luka too. Want to talk about some things that I like about Luka and some things I don't like about Luka. And yesterday I thought, most of that was on full display. So we'll spend a little time talking about that. Why the Lakers are okay. I know it's very easy to look at the Lakers right now and see kind of they're probably going to collapse in the standings. I mean, we'll see. I still think they're going to kind of hold their head above water. But it's one thing to look at a team that lost yesterday and say they just got no talent. They're not good enough. And it's another thing to be like, all right, well, I think they could clean up this. They can clean up that and they'll be all right. So the sky's not falling in my eyes, but not to say that it's not going to be an incredible challenge for what the Lakers got coming up. So we'll do a little bit of that as well. Mark Medina covers the NBA. He's an NBA reporter. Has been around the league for years. Is going to join us about 8:30. He'll join us. I want to talk to him about the Lakers, but also just the NBA in general. I think there's some questions I got in the Western Conference. We'll talk about some of these other teams in the West. We'll take a quick look at the Eastern Conference as well. And then there's some rumors going on around about Kevin Durant And there's already rumors of what a package would take to get Kevin Durant in the summer. I mean, you want to talk about trading somebody, prematurely trading somebody. I mean, KD is obviously leaving the Phoenix Suns. The question is just going to be what kind of package is going to come back in Phoenix's way. So we'll end the show with that. Thank you for being a part of the show. Appreciate you guys hanging out. Did you guys know that it costs $3 a month to be a member, an MVP member of the channel? If you're not already a member, I'm going to put a link at the bottom here. More than anything else, all it is a way to support the channel. So if you like what I'm doing, you like what I'm building, you like the content that I'm putting out there, this is a phenomenal way to support the channel. $3 a month. Also, I do put out exclusive content to members. Yesterday, I put out a short basically asking members about guests, what guests that they want to see on. It's going to be a lot more personal. And I'm also putting out videos where it goes to members first, and then it eventually goes out to the public as well. But put all that to the side. If you want to just support the channel, it's a great way to support the channel. And I appreciate everybody that's been here and that's been hanging out on the show. All right, let's get this bad boy started. Let's get this bad boy started. Got a feeling people are going to come in hot. Mitch, thank you, brother. If you want to take advantage of Mitch Potter gifting out 5 memberships, now would be the time to do it. Mitch, thank you, brother. I know you've done that a few different times. That's very, very kind of you and very, very nice of you to do that. So thank you, brother. Very much appreciated. All right, let's get things started here. We'll look here at a couple of comments, and then we'll get things started. Ooh, I like this. Yeah, you listen. You start hitting me with quotes, I'm in, guys. I'm going to spend 15 minutes just doing quotes. I'm going to pretend like the Lakers didn't even play yesterday. Perfection is not attainable, but if we can chase perfection, we can catch excellence. Damn. It's a lot better than my quote. Now, that's the issue now. Now you guys are going to have quotes that are much better than mine. No one can make you feel inferior without your consent. Beautiful stuff. I really, really like that. There's a couple other here that I'll get into in a little bit. There's good. Don't play with something you should cherish for life. Ooh. Don't play with something you should cherish for life. Very, very good. Okay, I appreciate you guys chiming in and all that stuff. All right, Lakers. Yeah, Mitch said that's a cold-ass quote. You're right. A couple really good quotes there. Lakers lose last night to the Brooklyn Nets. Let's talk about it. Spend a little time on this L. It's a bad loss. I mean, yesterday I was doing the post-game show. Any way you want to look at it, it's a bad loss. Nets are one of those teams right now that are tanking. It's in their best interest to lose. I'm sure there were Brooklyn Nets fans saying yesterday, what the hell is this? I thought I was going to come to the game. I thought I was going to watch Luka drop 40 on us. And then I thought we were going to take the L. And it was going to help, it was going to increase our odds for a good lottery pick. And everybody kind of walks away happy. It's like, okay, got to watch the Lakers, got to watch some good basketball, got to watch Luka, and my team lost to try to help with a draft pick down the road. Nets have no interest in winning. They had lost 8 of their last 9. They had lost 7 in a row. Just, a really, really bad loss. And what sucks about it is I can sit here and tell you that the Lakers were missing 4 key players because they were. Not that I think too many people want to hear about that, but that's just kind of the reality of the situation. Lakers were missing guys, whether people want to accept that or they don't. They are missing players. But with that in mind, it's still Brooklyn. You still took a 16-point lead early in the game. And if it wasn't for Luka and AR, Austin Reeves, having pretty bad games. Now, I understand, there's other things you can do when your shot's not falling. I understand that, there's more a team can do on a night-in, night-out basis to help a squad win, but that ain't going to get it done from those 2 players. I mean, if I told you that the Lakers didn't have LeBron James in a game and they're facing the Brooklyn Nets, it doesn't even matter who they're facing. I mean, the rest of the schedule, for as long as LeBron James is out, you're going to need certain guys to step up. But if I told you Luka shot 8 of 26 and Austin Reeves shot 3 of 14, the chances of Lakers winning that game, it's not very good. So I thought a big reason why the Lakers lost last night, Luka didn't do his job. AR didn't do his job. Now, between the two of them, they had 22 assists. They had 20 rebounds. So they were trying to do everything else they could to help the team win, but they were just so bad offensively that clearly affected the Lakers, and there's nothing to hide there. I mean, I think those two players, I heard Austin Reeves in the postgame, and it's not a surprise or a shock, but Austin Reeves is always going to be real about his game. He's always going to be real about his own personal performance. He said it was frustrating, and he said, obviously, without LeBron there, they're going to ask him to do more, and he wasn't able to do it for the Lakers. So that's just kind of it's a blunt way of putting it, that those two guys didn't come through. I thought something was interesting yesterday. By the way, the whole West won yesterday. That's another reason why last night's loss hurt. I don't know if you guys saw this, but Denver won, Memphis won, Houston won. So all those squads won. So Lakers now fell back to the number 3 spot. Memphis is now technically tied in the standings, but Lakers have a half game. They have a one less loss than the Memphis Grizzlies, and then Houston's 2 losses back in the loss column as well. So clearly at this point, with the Lakers and the schedule coming up, they got a brutal schedule coming up. It's going to be really hard to hold their position in the standings. There's just no other way to put it. It's going to be very, very difficult for the Lakers to kind of hold their position in the standings. And, we'll see what eventually happens. I want to play you guys some sound because after the game, JJ Redick, which I give the guy actually a lot of respect here because it's easy sometimes maybe, sugarcoat it or just say that, oh, everything is going to be fine. And you know what? We lose a game here. We lose a game there. It happens in the NBA. We just weren't hitting our shots. JJ Redick didn't do any of that. So let me play this for everybody here real quick. I don't know if you guys got a chance to see this yesterday, but this is JJ after the game. Mike Trudell is asking him a question. Of course, Mike Trudell, Spectrum Sportsnet. And he just absolutely kind of tears into the team. Take a listen.
Kind of the right way to handle the blitz, and what were the things that weren't happening, if you agree that was something that was an issue tonight?
Just throw the ball to the guy, and you play 4-on-3.
Do you know why that wasn't happening as much?
I think it was a very low-level communication game for our team, yeah.
You knew you were going to be shorthanded, but what's the kind of frustration level at the guys that you had out there not playing better?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think being shorthanded is an excuse for how we play basketball tonight.
I don't think being shorthanded is an excuse why we played bad basketball tonight. Basically what he's saying is, yes, we're missing a lot of our guys. Us missing a lot of our guys is not why the Lakers lost the game last night. Keep listening.
JJ, you guys shot 2 free throws in the first half. A lot of griping from your players. Do you think that took them out of any sort of rhythm?
No, I think it was just an overall mentality just to take shortcuts tonight. We just wanted to take shortcuts. Too many. Yeah, they scored 20 points on us gambling. They had 16 offensive rebounds. We ball watched all night. We said no dare shots. I would go through it. They probably made 6, 7 uncontested threes. Just shortcuts. Don't be a good team. You want to win in the NBA, you gotta do the hard stuff. We couldn't even pass to each other. We couldn't enter our offense running ball screens literally at half court. Yeah, that's going to end up in a turnover. I don't know what we're doing. You want to win in the NBA, you gotta do the hard stuff. We couldn't even pass to each other. We couldn't enter our offense running ball screens literally at half court. Yeah, that's going to end up in a turnover. I don't know what we're doing.
All right, I want to play that twice because, when I thought one or two things were going to happen after the game. Part of me thought, all right, JJ Redick could easily kind of take the approach of like, guys, this is the NBA. Sometimes you have games where you don't shoot well. Sometimes you have games where the team just isn't performing at its absolute peak. Whatever the case is, right? It's coach talk, coach speak, if you want to call it. That happens all the time in every sport. People are going to sugarcoat it. They're going to say this, they're going to say that, and you just kind of move on. JJ didn't do it, which I thought was interesting. I thought JJ ripping the Lakers, even though they're missing 4 other players, and saying, yeah, we definitely didn't lose the game because we're missing Dorian Finney-Smith and LeBron and Jackson Hayes and Rui Hachimura. That's not why we lost. I thought that was a very interesting approach. Let's put it that way. JJ Redick, I don't think, is wired in a sense that, hey, we're missing some guys. It is what it is. We start losing some games. I really, really think that the Lakers are – I really think JJ Redick believes, especially when you're playing Brooklyn. You know, I talked about this yesterday before the game when I did my show yesterday morning. I'm like, yeah, this seems like you kind of have to have this one, and they did it. And the schedule that is coming up, I saw this. I don't know if you guys have seen this, okay? But let me just show you how brutal this schedule is for the Lakers. Because it's actually, technically, the NBA doesn't do this anymore. And they're only doing this because of the LA fires, and they had to make up one of the games. I know Brian Windhorst mentioned this. He said they played the stretch where they play 6 games in 10 days. It's actually not something that normally happens in the NBA schedule. They have a week next week, all here in LA, but they play 5 games in 7 days, 4 games in 5 nights. March 13th, they got the Bucks. March 14th, they got the Nuggets. March 16th, they have the Suns. March 17th, they have the Spurs. March 19th, they have the Nuggets. March 20th, they have the Bucks. I mean, they got a brutal schedule. It's going to be a brutal, brutal schedule. But I'm going to go back to what I was saying about JJ Redick. Kind of is no excuses there, right? Like, he's not trying to make any excuses for the Lakers. He's not trying to, jump in and say, well, this is why it happened or that's why it happened or any of that stuff. I was a little surprised yesterday how much you want to call it, tore into the team. I don't know how you really want to describe it, or was incredibly honest about the team. I was a little surprised about it, but I like it. I like it. I like it because that was a bad loss. I like it because they needed that win yesterday. I like it because it was Brooklyn, and this is a team that, obviously is not trying to win anything. I like it because Luka Doncic did not play well. And there was a little bit of like, yeah, I could tell our star player didn't play well. I liked it because Austin Reeves was awful. And whether directly or indirectly, I felt like JJ was sending a little bit of a message to the rest of the team. So that's at least for me, 2 of the things. Of course, you got the loss to the Brooklyn Nets. Of course, it's a bad loss. But I thought JJ's reaction had something to say as well. Let me look at some of the comments, and then I want to spend a little time talking about Luka. See what we got here. Darren, good morning to you, brother. Gustavo says, no excuses, please. Lakers fan 24 says, loss made me sick to my stomach. I get it. The mercy seat. Luka and AR making a few more, we win. They didn't come through with the points. They didn't. I mean, look, like I said, if you look at their other starts, if you look at their other stats, 22 assists and 20 rebounds. They were making it happen from that department. But, when you don't have LeBron and your top 2 players, especially offensively, are Luka and Austin Reeves, you can't shoot that poorly and expect to walk away with a win, even against Brooklyn. I mean, even against a team like Brooklyn. All right, let me get a couple more of these comments in here. I want to talk Luka. Luka was cooking with Reeves on the bench. They can't play together. Well, they better figure it out because, I mean, if Bron is out for a couple of weeks, there really isn't that many options of, oh, you know what? Let's just not have these guys play together. Slee, it was a Charlotte-Utah loss. Yeah, isn't that kind of interesting? Their last 5 losses I could think of all in my head right now. They got 1 to the Clippers. They got 1 to Utah. They got 1 to Charlotte. They got 1 to Boston. And they got this one against the Brooklyn Nets. So basically, their last 4 losses, 3 of them are against bad teams. And then 1 is against a great team. and all the other games that they've had. And maybe I'm missing another loss in there somewhere. This was an awful night. So sloppy on both ends of the floor. These type of games build bad habits. I will tell you this. I think, and I'll get into it in just a little bit, I do think that the Lakers will be okay. I do think that was a bad game. It's going to leave a bad taste in everybody's mouth. No question about it. And then I've said this before, because of their predicament, because of the situation, because of the standings, because of how long LeBron's going to be out for, that one felt like more than one loss, right? That one felt more than that. But I don't think the sky is falling. I'll get into that in just a second. All right, let's talk Luka here for a quick second. I want to talk Luka. Let me tell you some positives and some negatives so far with Luka Doncic. Okay, here's what I like. You guys got some thoughts on Luka? Throw it in the comments. I want to spend some time talking about Luka. I'm going to be critical on some things about Luka too, because not everything I think is just flowers and blue skies so far with Luka. Here's what I like about Luka. He's got a chance any night to drop 30 and 15, period. Any given night. Doesn't matter. Any given night, Luka can drop 30 and 15. He could take over a game. He could be a stone cold killer. He could be just one of the best players in the league any given night. Incredible passes and vision. There's a lot of times it's like, how the hell did he make that pass? He's revitalized the Lakers organization. No question about it. Okay, it's funny. I was talking to, who did I tell here? I told a couple different people this. I was in San Diego for a few days, and I was in San Diego over the weekend. And I had, one of them was my sister that mentioned this to me. Another one, I think, was my cousin that mentioned this to me. But people that basically are telling me, Al, I haven't watched Lakers basketball in a long time. I used to watch Lakers basketball. I stopped watching. But since Luka became a Laker, I'm all in again. I'm watching. I'm like, damn, okay. I've had a lot of people tell me that, and this is not, whether it's in the chat or it's personal friends, family, whatever the case is, Luka has changed all of that for everybody. And you certainly know that there seems to be a future now that's set for the Lakers, and it's going to be around Luka Doncic. So far, Luka as a Laker player, again, he's had moments where you're like, wow, incredible. Oh my gosh, the game against Denver. He's definitely had moments. I thought the game against the Knicks, he started taking over the game. He's had some moments where you're like, yep, that's Luka Doncic. Okay, here's what I don't like so far about Luka. He's either slow or injured. One of the two, maybe both. Nobody's saying that, his speed is going to take over in a game. He's not Ja Morant. He's not one of these elite, quick point guards in the NBA that gets right by you. I know that's not his game. But is it just me, or does he seem slow or injured or both? His efficiency is not good. So last night, he might give you, like I mentioned, what do you have? You look at his stat, 22, 12, and 12, and you're like, oh, man, okay, that's not a bad game. 22 points. It took him 26 shots to get there. I've told you guys this before. I've told you guys this story. Probably the most knowledgeable person in the game of basketball that I'll ever come across and have long conversations with is with Michael Thompson, former Los Angeles Laker, #1 overall pick, grew up in an era where he was watching all these other greats. And then he played in an era that was in the Showtime era, won championships with the Los Angeles Lakers, and then eventually retires. He stays a part of the game, has been a part of the Lakers broadcast for over 20 years. His son is Klay Thompson, and watched the Warriors dynasty, obviously. Watched the Lakers dynasty when that was all unfolding with Kobe and Shaq, Kobe and Powell, and everything else. Has got a chance to see LeBron, all these guys. When I used to do the pregame show with Michael, every single time that I would bring up somebody's points, Michael would say, if I say, Michael, Ja dropped 35, 45, you'd say, cool. How many shots did he take? As in, was it an efficient night or was it not? I saw this a couple nights ago. The Thunder the Thunder beat Denver on Sunday. They lost to them yesterday. That didn't help the Lakers. And Shai Gilgeous, I think, had another 40-point night, something like that. But he took like 35 shots. It's not an efficient night. That's not a night I think we should be praising because, okay, yeah, If anybody in the league takes 35 shots, you should be at 50 points, not 40. Anyways, long story short, he's not efficient. Luka's not efficient. He's a high volume shooter, and a lot of these shots are not falling. And I know people are going to say, Al, these shots are going to start falling. Okay, I'm not telling you that they're not going to start falling. I'm just telling you what I've seen so far from Luka. The last thing I'm going to mention with Luka that to me has been the most frustrating part of watching Luka Doncic. Stop complaining. Every single possession is some type of a complaint towards the referees. And I know this came with Luka because watching him in the playoffs and watching him in the past, it's not like this is the first time we've ever seen Luka complain. But my God, it feels like it's every possession. And if people want to say out there, here, I'll play a couple things for you, okay? I got something here for you real quick I'm going to play, okay? We'll talk a little bit about this, about Luka. Listen, am I being a little critical? Sure, I am, but I don't care. It's what I'm observing when I'm watching Luka. Luka was asked about it yesterday. Take a listen.
Just how do you feel physically? One, you look at, you were obviously sore from Saturday, and when you say not fair, is that just the number of calls, or is that sort of things they were getting away with that maybe even if they, were being called, you didn't like that kind of thing?
I'm not gonna say anything, but I think everybody saw the game, so they know what happened.
All right, that's Luka basically talking about, the refereeing. JJ had a piece in here as well where he said that something to the effect of, yeah, I've seen Luka complain a lot more. I actually wish JJ, in a sense, almost, I don't think he's going to do it. I don't think he's going to do it right now. I wish he almost in a sense tells Luka as well, like, you're not helping yourself by complaining every single call. Guys, I'm not telling you he's not getting fouled. I'm not telling you that the whistle should not be blown more. I'm not telling you that, that stuff like that doesn't happen. But I don't think Luka's helping his own game. He looks like he's more worried about the referees than he is than the player in front of him. It looks like there are way too many moments where Luka is getting out of his game, where Luka and somebody, I got somebody here telling me, well, Slee, Luka's just a complainer. That happens. Okay, that's fine. But is it affecting your game or is it not affecting your game? I feel like it's affecting his game. I feel like there's a lot of possessions where Luka is looking at the referee rather than getting back on defense. Or there's a time where Luka is upset at the referee and maybe it's affecting him for plays further down. I don't care if guys are going to complain. I know superstars complain. And I also know superstars do it strategically because they end up getting calls. With that in mind, is it helping you or is it hurting you? At least up to this point, I don't think it's been helping him. All right, let me look at some of the comments here. We're going to have Mark Medina joining us here in a few minutes. So I want to take a look at some of the comments here before we get him on. If refs not calling fouls, find other ways to get a bucket. Luka has always complained this isn't a surprise. Well, it ain't helping him. Let's put it that way. So I'll tell you this. I'll say that if Luka was complaining and he was getting 18 free throws a night and it was the complaining that helped him get to the free throw line, then I'm all good. It's helping the Lakers win. But I think too many times it's affecting his game negatively. That's the point I'm trying to make more than anything else is last night's game is a good example. Sometimes you got a lot of guys hunting for fouls. I know that's part of the league, part of the NBA. But the NBA, in a weird way here over this last maybe 30 days, maybe 2 months or so, they're kind of swallowing their whistle more. Okay, if they're swallowing their whistle more, then you got to adjust as well. Let's get a couple more comments in here. Please stop giving excuses for Luka. Since he came to the Lakers, he has not really played like when he was playing in Dallas. Players take the ball from him easily. LeBron out. He's getting exposed. Okay, see another one here. Slee 100. Let's get another one here. Could JJ take Luka out of the game when he complains to make a point? I don't think that's happening. I don't think. By the way, he doesn't have a plan B. All right, let's see what he got here. Alan, I don't know if you saw some of the plays, but Nick Claxton just shoved him in the back. Also, final minute, they pulled Jared Vanderbilt down to get offensive rebound. It was insane. Ashwin, I'm going to say this. I don't disagree that there are possessions out there and plays out there that he's probably not getting a whistle where he deserves a whistle. I'm not saying it's not happening. The problem is if you're doing it in every single possession, I can't now tell when that one should have been called a foul and when that one shouldn't have been called a foul. That's the point that I'm trying to make more than anything else. All right. That's enough of me yapping here. When I got a guest like Mark Medina ready to go, it's time for me to be quiet and give Mark the mic here. What's going on, Mark? How are you?
Well, Alan, I will assure you, I will not complain about any of your calls today. We'll keep it civil.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Well, hey, I appreciate your time as always. I'm excited to have you on. There's a number of different topics that I want to get into. There's a lot of questions I want to ask you about the West and the NBA and the Eastern Conference as well. But let me actually just start here. Just because we're on the topic, obviously everyone was overly excited. It may go down as one of the worst trades in NBA history. We'll see what eventually happens. Luka's a Los Angeles Laker. If you can you take what you've seen so far from Luka Doncic, give me some of the things that you've liked with him as a Laker. Give me some of the things. I mean, you heard me kind of complaining a little bit about there's too much attention towards the referees. Maybe I'm putting him too much on a spotlight, but that's just going to happen because he's a Laker now. What has been your take so far on what you've seen from Luka?
Well, Alan, it's mostly been good, obviously, because Luka Doncic is a generational star. You mentioned it, that this is probably going to be one of the most lopsided trades in NBA history. I've been at different Laker games recently, and Rob Pelinka is on the court before the game, and he's just getting so many standing ovations from fans that arrived early, and he's soaking it in. So I'll unpack what I mostly like. Luka and the LeBron James fit has been mostly seamless. There's a clear pecking order that, Luka's going to have the ball in his hands. Luka looks to score, but he also looks for LeBron to pass. So they're making each other's jobs way much easier. I think, secondly, Luka is helping the floor spacing and helping everyone else get open shots, like for Dorian Finney-Smith and Austin Reeves most notably. What I haven't liked, some of the turnovers, sometimes his passes are forced a little bit. Teammates aren't ready for them. But I think when you're looking specifically at this loss against Brooklyn, he was complaining too much. He was not getting enough calls, but he has to rise above that. Secondly, I thought that with LeBron James out, that he would be using this opportunity to really lift the team on his back, especially because the Brooklyn Nets aren't a good team. And then the last thing is, we all know Luka's not a great defender. I think that he's shown a lot better effort, and he's had a few games where he's had some good steals, but that's obviously not his calling card. But by and large, it's obviously a great trade and worked out well for the Lakers so far. And, I know they're 9-4. It could be better, but you have to equate that two of those losses have been these past two games.
Yeah, and I would say, I mean, really, I think the only bad loss I could think of in the near future or in the near present, I guess you can call it. Obviously, they had the loss against Charlotte. Okay. I want to say that was the first game back from the break. That was a loss against the Charlotte. The last game before the break was against Utah Jazz. I don't listen. Those losses happen. It happens in the NBA. Last night was the one where I'm like, that one feels like that one cost more than just one loss, just because of the predicament, the situation, the standings. You got the injuries that you have. Some of that happens. Were you surprised? JJ was very critical. And maybe this is one of the reasons why I like JJ Redick so far as a head coach. Doesn't even seem like he's able to sugarcoat things. Like I think and maybe as he becomes more of a vet of a coach, that he'll be able to kind of hold his emotions in. I don't think he's able to. Any surprise there how blunt he was about the team?
I'm not surprised at all because you've said it. He rides and dies with all the highs and lows of how the Lakers have been, and mostly it's been for highs. And I think that the Lakers like this because it shows that he cares. He kind of embodies the passion that the Lakers fan base has. I know that not to pick on Darvin Ham, but it's an obvious direct contrast when he would, try to do the whole it's a marathon, not a sprint, and it's a season. Yes, that's technically true, but I think a lot of Laker fans did not like that kind of messaging because it subtly and not so subtly sent this message that, he's okay with all these things. So it's good to have a coach that cares. You obviously don't want someone to burn yourself out with and know that it's an 82 game season. Phil Jackson is obviously a great testament to that. He was very stoic and controlled on the sideline. But I think in JJ Redick's case, he's obviously a first year head coach. So you have, that kind of excitement, but it also taps into he's going to pour everything into this job to make sure that he's putting the team in a position to succeed. And I think that all he really wants is that same kind of energy in return. And so, again, big picture, the Lakers have mostly shown that. But yesterday it was very surprising because they were very careless with the ball. They were outmanned on the rebounding front. They didn't have that kind of all hands on deck intensity that you would think a team would have when you don't have a star player available with LeBron James. So, yeah, disappointing across the board, not to mention the fact that they're playing the Brooklyn Nets, not exactly a gangbuster kind of team.
So I still think this is something that you and I could talk a little bit about together. I think it's going to be a tough stretch here. No question about it. I guess let me start off with this. We don't know how long LeBron's going to be out for. And there's a couple different ways that you can look at it. The short term, it's clearly going to hurt the Lakers, right? You got all these games that are bunched together. You got 2 against Denver, 2 against Milwaukee. If he's gone long enough, you'll start facing these teams that are also in front of you, or they're also kind of fighting you in the standings, the Houstons of the world, the Memphis of the world. Let me first just kind of frame it this way. How concerned are you with the Lakers short term? And let's hypothetically say Braun comes back in 3 weeks or so. Can you think of what the positive can be in that Braun gets a little bit of rest, gets his body right, and if he's healthy to go, and you still got 8 games left in the regular season, and then here you are for this playoff run, can you just kind of weigh the positives and the negatives here?
Yeah, the Lakers are in a very interesting predicament because the fact that this injury with LeBron James happened in March, you never know what the fork in the road is going to be. Ultimately, before the playoffs, health is always the most important thing. So the potential silver lining of having LeBron James rest and not just recover from the groin injury, but recover from obviously the 22 years of mileage, that can obviously do wonders. But to your point, we don't know how severe this injury actually is. There is optimism that LeBron James shared. That's not the same level of concern that he had with his groin injury in 2018. That injury sidelined him for 17 consecutive games. Here, if we're adhering to Shams Charania's initial report that it's likely 1 to 2 weeks, that's up to 7 games. So, that's comforting. But to your point, these upcoming games are going to be challenging. You got Milwaukee, you got Denver. The only winnable games that you can pencil in off the bat, assuming that they play the way they're supposed to, 2 games against Phoenix, a game against San Antonio, a game against Chicago. But 2 games against Denver, a game against Milwaukee, that's challenging. Then you're looking at the standings itself. The Lakers are at number 3 right now. They're 1 game behind Denver for second. They're only 4.5 games ahead of Minnesota to avoid the play-in tournament. So, at this point in time, when the Lakers climbed to number 2 last week, I asked JJ Redick, of all the things that you're most concerned about, where do you rank seeding? And he said he's not really thinking about that, but he wants to avoid the play-in for obvious reasons because you don't want to leave yourself vulnerable to an opponent having a suddenly hot game and then you're out of the playoffs. You don't even make the first round. You also want to avoid that accumulation of playing an extra game, not having that extra sort of rest as a 1 through 6 seed. So again, when you're looking at the standings, they only have a 4.5 game cushion ahead of Minnesota to avoid the plan right now. Obviously, they have a month's left of games to sort that self out. But what I'm getting at, Alan, is every game is obviously going to matter and have severe implications as far as the playoff seedings go.
Mark, is there, I think kind of just playing off of that, before LeBron got injured and we were seeing the way this team was playing, and I'm curious just how much it caught you off guard, because I've said this before and I have no problem saying this. When the Lakers traded for Luka Doncic, I thought it hurt their chances this year of making some real noise in the playoffs for some of the obvious reasons, right? It's like, all right, they're still trying to figure out, is this roster? I mean, it was Pelinka that was saying the roster was imperfect when he was doing the presser with Luka. So I think we kind of all knew that. And then they just go on this run where they're not even just beating teams, they're beating really good teams, right? They're doing it in such a enjoyable way. They're playing some bully ball. There is some beautiful and finesse to it as well. But at the same time, it's like stylistically, Lakers can win in multiple different ways. It might not always be pretty, but that's okay. Were you surprised, I guess, not even looking towards the future, were you surprised how much success they've had this early with Luka and based off of some of the flaws that the roster has?
I have mixed feelings. I'm not surprised that Luka has made an instant impact. He's Luka Doncic. I'm not surprised the chemistry that he's instantly formed with LeBron James. There's a lot of talk about, okay, how's LeBron going to coexist? How does he divide up ball handling duties? Because he's shown, mixed attitude when it came to that with D'Angelo Russell and Russell Westbrook. But Luka Doncic is on a whole other stratosphere. So I didn't have any concerns about the fit, even short term. Here were my surprises. I didn't think the Lakers would be a great defensive team because you lose Anthony Davis, Defensive Player of the Year candidate. They don't have a lot of size outside of Jackson Hayes. They haven't really been a great defensive team with their point of attack, but they've overachieved. A lot of it has to do with effort. JJ Redick has taken advantage a lot with his small ball lineups and using a lot of his wing players to play big. So they've been a really good defensive team. I did not see that coming. And so I'm with you. Long term, this is going to be a no-brainer. They set themselves up to have that next generational star, and they could build the roster around Luka Doncic when LeBron James retires. But I did think short term there would be some initial hiccups defensively, as well as not with LeBron, but the rest of the role players. How would they adapt to Luka short term? But I will say this: I thought that there would be more of a potential for them to make a deep playoff push and even enter the championship contending conversations with Luka Doncic, only because it's a new move, it's lightning in a bottle, it's an espresso shot. I was very pleased with how Anthony Davis played this season, both with his play and his availability. But I think what we saw was that even with LeBron James and AD mostly being available, mostly being consistent, they just didn't have the kind of performances that you would expect for them to win games, even with them playing at their best, because their role players weren't always consistent. Defensively, they still weren't great, even with AD there. So I thought that their ceiling would be second round. With Luka Doncic, I'm not going to thrust them into NBA title favorites, but they have at least opened the championship window. Now we'll see if they can climb it through it. So it's going to be a very interesting last month of the season, as well as how the playoffs start, because I still have the Oklahoma City Thunder as the favorites out of the West, but really it's anyone's game. You've seen Denver play a lot better. Nikola Jokic has now made stronger cases to get another MVP. The Lakers are back. The Warriors are at 6, but the Jimmy Butler trades dramatically changed them. So everything is very up in the air.
Let me hit you on. It's a perfect transition to talk about kind of the rest of the West and the rest of the NBA. So you said what you said about the Thunder. One of my questions I was going to ask you is, I know their record, they're the best record in the Western Conference. Do you think they are the best team in the Western Conference? And yesterday I was doing my show, and after I saw them blow out Denver on Sunday, and I really kind of got a chance, at least I haven't been watching a lot of Denver or a lot of Oklahoma City Thunder games, but getting an opportunity, I watched almost all 48 minutes. It's like, gosh, their depth, their size, their youth, their athleticism, their star power, their, feels like they got everything that you need. The only thing that I would say is experience would be the only thing that I hesitate in. And it's like, okay, well, they haven't gone through 3-4 years of these playoff runs, which sometimes that's what it takes. Sometimes I don't always take that. They got the best record. Are they the best team in the Western Conference, you think?
I think they are, but it's not like they're the Golden State Warriors during the Kevin Durant years, where it's inevitable they're going to get to the NBA Finals. Um, I think that to what you were saying, they seem to be a complete team. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, he's not a complete player yet, and the Thunder will be the first to tell you that, but he's pretty darn close. Lethal scorer at the rim, gets the foul line. He's improved his three-point shot. Even though he's an isolation player, he's still good at getting his teammates involved. Defensively, he's not going to be all defensive team, but he's been a better defender. The good thing is he has a lot of great perimeter attack defenders to help him out. With Jalen Williams, Laker fans know Alex Caruso, Lou Dort, all those different players have a good blend of different strengths, athleticism, aggressiveness. That if you just throw all those three players at some of the best wing players in the NBA in a 7-game playoff series, it's never going to shut down a player, but it could slow them down. It could tire them out. That's a really good weapon to have. I've been also impressed that even without Chet Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein at certain parts of the season, one of those players have been able to hold the fort down. Now, the potential pitfalls, they're not an elite rebounding team. The inexperience could be a factor in the playoffs, but not because they're overwhelmed with the moment. It's just they don't have the same tactical experience that the Denver Nuggets could use, for example. I think Denver's improved a lot because they've been a lot more consistent with Jamal Murray. Nikola Jokic has been pretty consistent all season, but we saw earlier in the season it wasn't enough because Jamal Murray was hurt. Same thing with Aaron Gordon. Their young guys, went through different learning curves with trying to become, those key role players to fill the vacancies from the team's title run. So I think it's between those two teams, but look, it is pretty wide open. I think the Lakers can enter that conversation. Same thing with the Warriors. Well, as it pertains to the Lakers, the reasons are obvious. I mean, you have Luka Doncic, LeBron James, you have a lot of experience. Their chemistry is going to be great. You do wonder, is the strong defensive numbers sustainable? But, I do believe JJ Redick and LeBron James when they say that a lot of times all that matters is effort. You can talk about schemes and personnel,
Sure.
but if you bring the kind of effort every single night, that can make a difference.
Yeah, it's funny. You said 2 through 5. You were talking. You mentioned Aaron Gordon's name. If you look at 2 through 5 right now in the Western Conference, every one of these teams has a key player missing. Aaron Gordon's out for the Nuggets. Lakers have a number of players, but obviously LeBron is the key piece there. Memphis, Jaren Jackson Jr., I think, is dealing with an ankle injury. Amen Thompson just went out for the Houston Rockets. I mean, I don't know when Jonathan Kuminga's coming back, but there's another player you can name for the Warriors. None of these rosters are perfect or in a perfect position situation. I guess that's what comes when you're kind of approaching mid-March and you're already 65, 60-plus games into the season. I heard you say Warriors a couple of times. They've won 9 of 10. They've won 5 in a row. Obviously, Jimmy Butler has been there. How dangerous can they be in a playoff run?
Yeah, incredibly dangerous because they've opened up their offense. It's not just Steph Curry anymore. And I think, the Warriors are always trying to be about strength in numbers, but the strength in numbers just weren't consistent. Andrew Wiggins wasn't that same consistent secondary scorer that they had during the 2022 title run. At the beginning of the season, some of the 3-point numbers were actually higher with a combination of Buddy Hield and Kyle Anderson more than Klay Thompson, but it wasn't sustainable. And with Jonathan Kuminga, really good talent, but there's always this kind of back and forth where you see that he's not the complete package yet. He's a great athletic player, but he's still showing mistakes. And also, Steve Kerr and the coaching staff, sometimes for better, sometimes for worse. They think, okay, let's give him opportunity because we trust him, play through mistakes. Other times they're not giving him the opportunity, even though he's such a great talent. Jimmy Butler changes all these things because they're generating offense the complete opposite of the way they usually generate offense with Steph. So Steph, it's obviously a lot with threes. Both Jimmy Butler, he's gained mid-range shots, he's gained more free throws, and it's opening up the floor spacing because of all the gravity that not only Steph produces, but also Jimmy Butler. But I would give the edge to the Lakers because I just think when you're looking at the talent of duos, Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, Luka Doncic, LeBron James, I don't think you can even compare. I mean, Luka is in the top 5 player stratosphere. There's always going to be questions about Jimmy Butler with his health given his age. And I know that obviously Luka's coming off his own injury this season, but he's a lot younger. And I think that the concerns about his injury are mostly behind him. I know that, this past few days he's been dealing with the back, but I think that short term, that's the only problem. Long term, that won't be such an issue.
I got one more question in the West and then a question in the Eastern Conference, and I appreciate your time as always. Dallas, been some interesting storylines around Dallas. I think that's safe to say around the Dallas Mavericks. What do you think they do moving forward? I think I've been listening to a couple different podcasts that are either covering the Mavs or they're based out in Dallas or whatever the case is. And you've kind of even heard some conversations out there. Hey, do they shop Anthony Davis this summer? First, it's shut him down. And then do they shop him this summer and just kind of start the rebuilding process of whatever it is? I don't know of a franchise that has collapsed as quickly as the Mavs have because of that trade. What do you think happens to the Dallas Mavericks over the next 12 months or so?
Yeah, it's a tough question. From an outsider's point of view, I don't think it would be a bad idea to consider those changes, only because of what's happened with all these injuries. Also with Kyrie Irving, we obviously know that he's out for the season with his ACL, but we have to keep in mind this doesn't guarantee if he's going to come back next season. I talked to a few outside doctors for a piece I did for Sportskeeda about Kyrie and ACL and just gain a sense of expectations. And the usual timeline for players with ACL injuries can be 8 to 12 months. So when
Oof.
you're looking at that, his return at best is going to be December, January of next season. So that's almost half a season. There's also a scenario that he's not ready to return at all next season. So at that point, you think, okay, even if you stay status quo, you're not going anywhere. But
Mm.
I don't think that that's going to happen because I think that Nico Harrison and the Mavericks ownership, for them, it's too early to concede mistakes. Obviously, we've seen how quickly this has backfired with the Luka Doncic trade. But I think that there could be a reasonable conversation to be had that if you were going to go down the route of trading Luka Doncic, at least get a bigger haul. But I will also say that Anthony Davis is a great player. Obviously, we saw what he did with the Lakers. We saw what he did in his first game with the Mavericks, with how well he could be on both sides of the ball. Um, and I think that if you're going to make those changes, they would be basically conceding a mistake right off the jump. Usually, what you see in professional sports, front offices don't concede that mistake right away.
They
They
ride it out.
they
Right.
they write it out at least for a little bit of the
Yeah.
following season before they make those changes. So I think that's what's going to happen. But again, we've seen how dramatically things have turned with these chain events of not just the Luka trade, but AD's injury and then Kyrie's injury. But there's still more to come because there is a lot of uncertainty on when Kyrie Irving will actually be back
Hmm.
with his ACL injury. With Anthony Davis, the same doctors I talked to, there's not as much concern about that injury long term. There was a lot of open-endedness on when he would come back, but a lot of it also had to do from their mind of, okay, given where the Mavs are at, is it even in their interest for him to come back? So that's up in the air. But with Kyrie Irving, the ACL injury from a timetable standpoint could very well be next January or even after next season.
Mark, final one, brother, and I appreciate your time. Just quick question in the Eastern Conference. We got a chance to see Boston on Saturday. Celtics, obviously, I still think everyone's chasing the Boston Celtics. I know that they've kind of had some ups and downs in the regular season. I know the Cavs have an unbelievable record as well. But part of me feels like they're going through the motions in the regular season because they already know who they are, and then they'll turn it on when they need to. Cavs Celtics, if they played a 7-game set today and Game 7 was in Cleveland. That's the advantage Cleveland would have. What do you make of those two teams going head-to-head?
Yeah, I'm really torn. Because it's not just that the Cavaliers are playing really well. They won 14 games in a row. But I am mindful. I don't think it's one of those things that the Cavaliers aren't going to win in the playoffs because they haven't been tested. But we have to keep in mind that there have been a lot of strong regular season teams that have come up short in the playoffs. And they still made deep playoff runs, just they didn't make that championship run. The most recent examples, Houston Rockets, when they went 7 games against the Golden State Warriors in 2018. The Phoenix Suns, they got to the finals in 2021. They also had some good success the following season. They fell short in the playoffs. But I think that, in fairness to Cleveland, their identity is different than those two teams. I mean, they seem to be just a complete package. Kenny Atkinson, great offensive mind. The chemistry with all their backcourt, with Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, hasn't missed a beat. Same thing with the front court, Jared Allen and Evan Mobley. And there was this thinking last season that this roster fit wouldn't work well, that Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell couldn't coexist. We saw that they just need to play more games together. Evan Mobley and Jared Allen, they couldn't coexist, but we've seen Evan Mobley really develop his game into him being a mobile big where he can be a post-up guy. He also has a better, outside shot. But you can't discount championship experience with Boston.
Of
So
course.
what I'm getting at is I don't know what's going to happen. 7-game series, flip a coin. We all know the factors, the pros and cons for each team. And let's just have it sort out through a 7-game series.
That's a
I know that's not good for radio. Usually I'm very bold with my opinions, but I also want to be honest with the listener here. I don't know what would happen, assuming health is not a major factor. Go 7 games and enjoy.
but that's the good thing is I think a lot of people are saying, yeah, I'm not sure what's going to happen in that series. Yeah. Like this isn't one of those things where I think everybody's just assuming. I would still take Boston in a 7-game set, and I'm just going more on the history rather than the present. And I think it's just kind of, you always typically give certain teams the benefit of the doubt, or maybe give other teams less benefit of the doubt because they haven't got there and they haven't won a championship or whatever the case is. But what you said about flip a coin, that's great for entertainment. I have no idea who's going to win that matchup. So I think that obviously is a good thing. Mark, I greatly appreciate the time, brother. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for joining the show. And thank you for your insight as always.
Alan, right back at you. Appreciate you as well. Appreciate all the listeners and viewers out there and all the Laker fans. They clearly care and know about their basketball.
Oh, they care. They definitely care. They know what they're talking about as well. Thank you, buddy. We'll see you at a Laker game soon.
Sounds good. Appreciate it.
That is Mark Medina right there, national NBA reporter. Does a fantastic job, obviously covering the NBA for a long time. So shout out to him. Shout out to his work. Shout out to his making some time and coming on the show. So I'm always appreciative of his time. Okay. Start getting your comments in. I know there's a lot of comments out there. I know there's a lot of people that want to hit on previous conversations. We were talking about Luka. I went kind of transitioned into Luka complaining, and then it was time to get Mark on. So I don't really think I don't know if I finished all those points there. He hit on a lot of NBA stuff. He said something about the standings. I don't know. I agree with, but we'll get into that as well. But before we do so, got to give a shout out to my guy, Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm. It's a great partner, somebody that I've known now for about 5 years, somebody that I used to advertise on 710 ESPN. And when he came to 710 ESPN, he's like, I want that guy doing my endorsements. And he was talking about me. So whether I was doing the Travis and Sleevis show or I was doing the Lakers broadcast, whatever I was doing, I was very proud to represent Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm. I got to know him personally, and then here he is now following me here on YouTube. I hope you never need him. I hope I never have to give you the URL, wallacewins.com/Sliwa. I hope I never have to make a personal introduction, which I'm happy to do as well. But life happens, and if you or someone you know is in a serious injury, you should reach out to Brad Wallace. Let him walk you or your family through your legal options. I'm sure it's a very intimidating and daunting process, but let an expert in the field help you. He can help anyone, by the way, in the state of California I'm going to be actually at a week from today. I'm going to be at the Wallace firm. I'm going to go out there and do my show from there. He's got a great podcast that he does that is specific to injury attorneys, and he's done a phenomenal job in his field. I'm going to go out there and do my show, get a chance to sit down with him, talk to him a little bit. So I'm really looking forward to that. I'll do my show from their studios next week in Encino. Again, he can help anyone in the state of California. If you or someone you know has been seriously injured or is dealing with a loss of a loved one, wallacewins.com/Sliwa. Get a free consultation. Or if you want to email me personally, I will make a personal introduction. So shout out to Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm. Shout out to his partnership here on the channel. All right, let's keep things moving here. Let's keep things moving here. All right. Let's get to some of the comments here. Got some comments that I starred here. I got some supers that I want to get into. Here's somebody here. T-Wrong, who's a member. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you being a member. Slee, I told you, playing if LeBron out longer than 3 weeks. Okay, if he's out a month, now you're talking about he comes back with 3 games left in the season. So that's a big chunk of games without LeBron. But if he's out for 3 weeks, I still think they hold on. So I'm not going to, I don't think the Lakers are going to crater here. I just don't. And I know they got a really tough schedule coming up. And I know they got a lot of games coming up, but the team plays hard enough. You got Luka. Austin Reeves won't be as bad as he was. JJ Redick is a good coach. I don't think they're just going to collapse. I just don't. I don't believe that's what's going to happen. Now, I will tell you this. They need some of their guys back. So if LeBron's going to be out for 3 weeks, and we don't know how long he's going to be out for, we're just making an assumption here. If LeBron's out for 3 weeks, okay, you got to get Jackson Hayes back in the lineup. Dorian Finney-Smith's got to come back. At least those 2 guys, and then hopefully Rui sooner than later. But if all 4 of those guys are out for 3 weeks or whatever the case is, okay, then you're going to have some serious issues. But at the absolute worst right now, you got to start getting some of these other players back. So I think that part's going to be important. And, I'm looking at the standings too. I don't think they fall into a play-in tournament spot. Yeah, Minnesota's playing some good basketball. I think they've won maybe 5-6 games in a row. They're 8 games over 500. They're starting to play some good ball. Lakers have a 6-game advantage in the loss column on Minnesota. I still think there's a lot of separation there. I still think teams are going to beat themselves up. This is just kind of how the schedule works. So we'll see what eventually happens here. Let me get a couple supers in here. Lakers running it down. JJ's pushing too hard. He needs to learn balance. Playing hard since January, injuries going up, guys playing hurt. Find these guys rest down. Don't burn them out. Yeah, that's kind of an interesting balance there. Austin Reeves just missed some games. Jackson Hayes is in and out of the lineup. Rui Hachimura has obviously been out here for a stretch of games. Dorian Finney-Smith has been in and out of the lineup. Vando missed most of the season anyway, so I think, he's just now starting to look like he's getting his legs under him. Luka had missed time as well. I think a lot of these guys have had some time off. Now, if you're trying to balance health over standings, then I'll take health, clearly. But let's see how he manages it the rest of the way. There was a quote here. I saw this earlier. I was going to point this out. Brian Windhorst said this. Let me see if I could find that quote real quick here. Windhorst said this on the Laker injuries. He says, I don't think that even if they were fully healthy, LeBron and Luka were playing all those games. There's going to be a couple of games in there where they were just going to have to maybe shut some guys down and rest them because they just can't play them that many minutes. And I think he was talking more specifically about how crazy the schedule is for the Lakers, how many games they got coming up. He said Luka's still coming off that calf injury. So what I'm saying to you is the Lakers were going to take some losses anyway, talking obviously about some of the other games coming up and how packed that schedule is. I mentioned this as well. Don't forget, there's some other teams right around the Lakers. Aaron Gordon, Amen Thompson, Jaren Jackson Jr. There's some other players missing too on some of these other teams. So it's not like everybody's got this perfect path. But of course, somebody like LeBron, that's as big as it gets. Lakers running it down. Thank you for the super, brother. I appreciate you. Mitch Potter. Mitch, first off, thank you for gifting the 5 memberships earlier in the show. I appreciate that. If you want to be a member, it's $3 a month. And then Mitch here on a super. Thank you for the super, brother. Luka's first game without LeBron was yesterday. Seems like trade shock, and coming off injury, he took time to ramp up, but has played angry since the Mavs game. Excuse me. But has played angry since the Mavs game. Yeah, there's some areas of Luka's game. I think his turnovers have been a problem. Too nonchalant with the ball. But overall, I think we all know the man is going to get better and he's going to play better. I've already talked to you guys about, some of the complaining to the referees. To me, that's too much. But they're now going to be asking, basically going to be asking Luka, hey, can you take over some of these games? And obviously he's going to need some help in the process. The worst part about yesterday, they got help. Dalton Connect, phenomenal. Gabe Vincent, incredible. Jordan Goodwin, incredible. They got help yesterday. Let's get another super in here. Mitch, thank you again, brother. He's got to shake it, but he has clearly shell-shocked and lost $100 million plus and hasn't even been a number 2. He's adjusting still. His mentality will shift. I don't think anybody's worried about Luka long-term. Maybe some people are. I mean, Dallas was clearly worried about Luka long-term. But I don't think people are worried about Luka in the sense of is he going to be Luka Doncic and that top 5 player that he is in the league? I think that's all going to come. But I think we are also reacting to every single game as it happens. And that's just the nature of covering a team or watching games as closely as everybody else watches games here. You react every single day, right? If Luka tomorrow or on Thursday comes back against Milwaukee and gives you 38, 10, and 10 and was efficient, his turnovers were down and he wasn't complaining, then that's what we're going to be talking about on Thursday and going into Friday. But that hasn't always been the case with the Lakers. So that's something, or that hasn't always been the case with Luka. All right, let's get some more in here. John Wayne. LeBron has never been concerned with seeding because he played on stacked teams in a weak East. The timing of this injury is not a coincidence. I don't know if I understand the point there. If LeBron could go, LeBron would be playing. Now, can it work out? Could the timing of this be perfect? Could he be back in 3 weeks or less than 3 weeks now because he got the injury on Saturday? Can he be back 3 weeks from yesterday and be 100% ready to go and his body be rested and find himself in a 6, 7, 8 game tune-up before he gets another 5-6 days off in the playoff start? The timing could be perfect. But what could also happen is 4 weeks goes by and he's still not 100%. And then where the Lakers are going to go from there? Obviously, there's only so much they can do from there. John, I appreciate the super. If we go 500, we only lose 3 games, we're fine. Joe Little. I think I know what you're trying to say here is in the time LeBron is out, if the team can just keep their head above water and play 500 ball. I got where you're going on that one. Let me look at strength of schedule real quick here. What are Lakers now? 4th toughest schedule left in the NBA. Memphis is 5th. Denver has dropped to 11th toughest schedule left in the NBA, probably because they already played the Thunder twice. Houston is 15th. It's going to be a tough road. It's going to be a tough road for the Lakers. No question about that. I don't think anybody's questioning that. Thank you to all the supers. Thank you to a couple new members that we have here. Thank you, everybody, for doing that. All right, let's take a look at a couple more comments here. You can't expect a man to play 60-plus games in 3 rounds. There's a reason why you've never seen it before. Not going to happen. I'm assuming they're talking about Braun here. How about his 22nd season in the NBA? Bron will be back, not a real injury. Okay. Oh, I got it here. We got some conspiracy theories. Conspiracy theories. I don't think there's much of a conspiracy here, everybody. I think if Bron could go, Bron would be playing. See what else we got here. Cam Reddish should play. Lakers too small without LeBron and Rui. Yeah, they're I'll tell you guys something. They clearly are not too concerned about playing. Clearly not too concerned about playing the Cam Reddish. Joe Little, sorry, I meant full season. Wolves can lose 3 games. Yeah, Minnesota's going to lose games too. Like, it's just going to happen. They'll lose some games they should have won. Lakers will probably win a game or 2 here that we're probably walking in saying, I don't think they're going to win that game. That's just kind of the nature of the NBA. All right. I got one other thing that I want to hit on here real quick, and then we're going to call it a day. I appreciate you guys hanging out. I don't know if you guys saw this story. Kevin Durant, there's an article out there. Let me actually pop this up here. I don't think I'm going to pop it up for everybody, but let me just see if I can find it here real quick. There's already conversation and chatter about Kevin Durant, the asking price for Kevin Durant in the summer. Okay? The conversation has already started. We're still on March 11th, and there's already reports out there of what it would cost to go get KD. Dwayne Rankin of the Arizona Republic, who I used to have on the show all the time on radio. Good dude, really good dude. He reported that Kevin Durant has all but accepted the reality of an offseason trade this summer. Rankin reveals Phoenix's ideal asking price for Kevin Durant when the time comes. 3 first-round picks and a young player. Sources informed the Republic the most ideal return on a Durant trade is regaining 3 first-round picks and a young player as part of the multi-team deal tied to getting under the second apron. We're set on March 11th, and trade the asking price for Kevin Durant is already out there. I think it's safe to say it's only a matter of time until Kevin Durant actually gets traded. Okay, well, that wouldn't happen until the summer. There are some ties out here to the Minnesota Timberwolves. There's a lot of question marks about, well, what happens to the Oklahoma City Thunder? Let's just say hypothetically OKC. Let's say they lose in the Western Conference Finals. Do the Oklahoma City Thunder say, hey, here's 3 first-rounders, which is nothing to them, and decide, and here's a player, whatever player you want to think of, bring Kevin Durant over here. Let's let him finish his career as an Oklahoma City Thunder to try to win an NBA championship. Kind of a fascinating story, I got to be honest with you. I'm kind of all in for that. And KD doesn't have to be the best player on that team. It's Shea's team, and KD is there to just try to help him win an NBA championship. And the style that Oklahoma City plays 100% allows KD to just kind of be his best. I think some of the stops that he's been at, Brooklyn and, obviously in Phoenix, the rosters are just not made up well. Well, OKC, nobody's going to complain about that roster. They got everything. So I thought that was interesting that was another storyline that came out. And by the way, I love that the article is saying in an ideal way, they would love 3 first-rounders. Okay, well, that's not going to happen. If you're already asking for that, then it's like you're basically saying, I'm selling my home. Now, I know all the homes around me are listed at $500,000. But ideally, I would like $725,000. Okay, well, world's not ideal. All right, let's get a couple of these comments in. We'll call it a day. If you all want to trade for KD, you're dumb as Phoenix and deserve exactly the team you'd get. JR, here's the one thing I disagree with you on. There's certain teams that are smart organizations. OKC is one of them. Sam Presti is one of the top, if not the best in the business of front offices in the entire NBA. Look what he's done. He had a team that was knocking on the door for a championship. Granted, they traded James Harden, a colossal failure there. He couldn't really do anything about KD walking and going to Golden State. But since that happened, look how he rebuilt his team, and this team's going to be around for a long time. I'm not telling you OKC is going to go trade for him. What I'm telling you is that if a team like OKC did it, they would do it the right way to where they still give themselves a really good chance of winning a championship. KD at OKC would be an awesome story. I agree with you. I agree with you on that. Let's get a couple more in here. Redemption back to OKC. I wouldn't give 3 snack-sized chip bags for KD. Interesting. Would you give 2 snack-sized chip bags and a Capri Sun? I mean, if we're going to go snack-sized chip bags, throw in a fruit roll-up, and we got a deal. Brian, $500K in San Diego where? It doesn't exist. I was just trying to give round numbers. You're right. 1 million, and then you're asking for 1.3. I'd consider it. See, now we're talking. Now we're negotiating. All right. Perfect. That's what we got. Got a chance to get into some of those other comments here. We got anything left here? I think we're good. Okay, so let me give got $1.15 on the show today. Let me give everyone just a quick idea of what we got going on. We don't got another game coming up until Thursday. So tomorrow, just regular show at 8 a.m. We'll have some more conversation, obviously, on the Lakers, NBA, anything else really going on, I'll hit on. I know we've been very, very heavy NBA, but that's just kind of the nature of this time of the year. And that's kind of the audience, to be honest with you. I'm also just kind of playing to the audience when it comes to that. So we'll be back on tomorrow at 8 a.m. We'll see. Maybe if there's, anything that comes up that I want to get into between now and then. But I'm pretty sure nothing until tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. We'll get a preview video for Lakers and the Bucks. That will come tomorrow night, so you can keep an eye out for that, and we'll keep things rolling on the channel. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I know a couple Laker losses obviously kind of changes the feeling that people have, but I think the Lakers are going to be okay. I really do. It's just going to come down to health, in my opinion. Thank you for being a part of the show. Thank you for hanging out this morning. Thank you to Mark Medina for being a part of the show. And thank you to Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm for being proud partners. Thank you, everybody. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. And we'll see you guys tomorrow morning at 8 a.m.